What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the deliberately devilish Dr. Disaster, and ever since Marvel Rivals hit the scene of the gaming community, the game journalist crowd and the progressive shitlibs out there have raged against it for going against the Church of Wokeness.
This is blasphemy.
It all started way back in December of 2024. Marvel Rivals released, and everyone noticed that the female characters in it did not conform to the typical standards that we had grown accustomed to in Western AAA gaming. Not only were the female characters not ugly as hell, with either the body proportions of a broomstick or a bowling ball, not only that, but these characters were actually downright pleasing to the eye. In fact, it became quite clear that the developers were using this as a selling point to get people to buy the skins for their characters.
Interesting. Sex works even better than chocolate to modify behavior. I wonder if anyone else has stumbled onto that.
Well, since the game was not concerned with catering to the so-called male gaze, that didn't seem to bother them at all. Since that was the case, the game journalists hated it, and many of them refused to review Marvel Rivals at first. It wasn't until the game became obviously too big to ignore that they started interacting with it. But in the past year and a half or so since the game released, they have written numerous pieces about how this game is horrible and deserves their scorn. Take this article as an example. Here, the outlet The Gamer wrote,
Marvel Rivals players call out the lack of queer couples in a season centered around love.
They just can't stand the idea that there is a game in the mainstream which exists outside of their control and does not give a rat's ass about catering to the lifestyles that they want to be pushed. Admirably, the devs of Marvel Rivals took these complaints from the shitlibs as seriously as they deserve to be taken.
We do not care.
Well, unfortunately, the developers of Marvel Rivals, the Chinese company NetEase, they finally made what I consider to be a mistake in this sort of department. They recently released a series of swimsuit skins for a bunch of their characters, and it's worth noting that the conversation has shifted quite a bit. It used to be that the feminist prudes and progressive screeching harpies, they would piss and moan that these swimsuit skins even existed in the first place, but they seem to have given up on that because they know that their complaints are falling on deaf ears. Now these people have tried a different tactic. They are whining about racism because they claim that a Storm swimsuit wasn't classified as legendary and therefore more expensive to obtain. They said that this was evidence of racism. Yeah, that word is a classic in the culture war, but the law of diminishing returns has kicked in for most of us, and we ignore that word, because it is every other word that comes out of these people's mouths. But NetEase was apparently thunderstruck when leftist social media started throwing that term around.
You underestimate my power!
Oh my God!
NetEase capitulated to their demands when in reality the proper response to these clowns and their word of power is
You have no power here.
Alright, me hearties, there once was a time when most of us were frozen by accusations of racism. There once was a time when people felt like they immediately had to defend themselves from such accusations in order to protect their reputation. just like everyone else, if I personally was called racist, I would immediately point toward my black friends or my Asian friends or whatever, and I'd say, see, that proves it, I'm not a racist. And I used to do that with my gay friends as well, to prove that I'm not prejudiced against LGBT folks, and I would point toward my relationship with my wife and daughters and my mother in order to prove that I'm not sexist. The problem with that tactic is that doing this, immediately defending yourself, by doing that you are falling directly into the progressive framing of things, where you then tacitly agree that the worst possible thing in the world is to be considered a racist or sexist or whatever. You are consenting to that view of the world when you defend yourself, and more than that, you allow yourself to be put on the back foot anytime such an accusation is leveled at you. By going along with their framing of things, you can be forcibly placed on the defensive by them simply uttering a single word. And like most people, I have gotten to the point where I don't give a shit if someone throws a word like racist or homophobic out there. I make silly, edgy jokes all the time on this channel, and if someone hates me because of it, then that's their problem. I don't care. As we talked about earlier today, the CEO of Saber Interactive did a nice job of defending himself and his studio against people who tried coming after him, and the secret of his success is in not caring at all what these people say about him. You have to stick to your guns because, let's face it, even if you relent and give these progressive types what they are asking for in that moment, they're not going to suddenly start liking you, and they're not going to lay off. In fact, then, if you do this, if you capitulate, they will only smell blood in the water, and they will make more demands. It is with that context in mind that we are going to now dive into this story that is the subject of this video. We are going to read this article here from Insider Gaming, which I will drop a link to this article in the description of the video in case you want to read it for yourself, but down at the bottom of the screen there it says, Marvel Rivals has officially responded to the backlash surrounding Storm's latest cosmetic, with fans criticizing NetEase over what they see as a disparity in how some of the game's black characters have been treated when it comes to high-tier cosmetics. Storm has had a notable lack of legendary skins compared to much of the game's launch roster, making her upcoming swimsuit cosmetic particularly anticipated. However, when Sacred Skies was revealed as an epic skin, despite the other female characters receiving legendary swimsuit cosmetics, anger quickly spread throughout the community. And to be clear, what they mean by throughout the community is a gathering of Redditors and blue sky weirdos who were pissing and moaning. They probably don't even play the game, they just saw that this was the cause of the moment, so they added their voice to the general cacophony created by these whining losers. But this was the same people who were complaining about this sort of thing several months ago, saying that it was bad that there weren't any gay relationships in the game. Marvel Rivals ignored that shit, but apparently the threat of being called racist is too much for them to handle. And to be honest, if anything, capitulating actually makes them look like they might be guilty in this scenario. But let's read on. Fan frustration reached new heights following the reveal of Storm's latest cosmetic. One post from MJ on X highlighted the disparity in skin rarities among the game's female characters, pointing out that Storm was the only one to receive an epic swimsuit cosmetic rather than a legendary one, despite fans having repeatedly asked for a new skin for the character. The post has since surpassed 50,000 likes in less than 12 hours, highlighting just how widespread the frustration has become. Even Marvel Rivals partner Miller Ross has been reposting fan complaints, with many players arguing that Storm deserves better treatment. Well, Marvel Rivals has responded to the outcry with an official statement, noting 3 points in particular. Storm's swimsuit cosmetic Sacred Skies will be upgraded from epic rarity to legendary. This will include a new lobby animation as well as an updated MVP animation. The price for the cosmetic will remain the same. Players who purchase the cosmetic will receive the upgrade for free. They assured the community that more legendary cosmetics are on the way for Storm later this year. The developer closed its statement by reiterating its desire to build a positive community for Marvel Rivals, while also reminding players that harassment of staff is not acceptable. The upgrades won't be available immediately, so the team has asked players for some patience while the changes are finalized, and I've gotta say, this is disappointing. When someone starts whining like this, the best thing to do is ignore it. It turns out that if you don't pay attention to these people, they don't really have a whole lot they can do about anything, especially nowadays since they no longer have a monopoly on public discourse and people can actually speak dissenting opinions on social media with platforms like X. Their cancel culture, which they once ruled over with an iron fist, that has essentially been stopped. Anyhow, this time they caved in over at Marvel Rivals, giving the complainers what they want. We'll have to pay close attention to NetEase to see how susceptible they are to this sort of thing moving forward. Anyhow, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already, and if you're already subscribed, make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. Lots of people tell me all the time they've been unwillingly unsubscribed, and also don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you make of this Marvel Rivals scenario? Drop your thoughts on all this into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.